Boogeyman! And I ain't no John Wick either. I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling vlogger who always tells it like it is. Again, 3-3 for my picks. I'm in a rut here. Hopefully Crown Jewel will pick up the pace for me. But anyway, it's Halloween again, and thoughts turn to the creepy, the macabre, the scary stuff. It's this time of year that made the Saw franchise so popular, and where most of the spooky films and TV shows come out to try to scare the crap out of us. As if the evening news doesn't already do that on a nightly basis. Since Raw is happening on All Hallows Eve, my thoughts have drifted to the scary, creepy wrestlers over the years. The kind of monsters you would see in a dark alley or even a well-lit alley and say, "Aw, hells no!" and quickly run the other way. And there have been a number of them. Kamala the Ugandan Giant, Undertaker and Kane, Papa Shango, yeah, remember that Dr. Falsier character who'd do voodoo? The original Bray Wyatt, one could even consider Dexter Lumis one of them. But I think you have to admit that there was no one spookier than this guy. That is Martin Wright of Phoenix, Arizona. A man who will forever be synonymous with one name, the Boogeyman. Hard to believe this worm-eating, clock-smashing, grotesque-looking individual almost didn't make it to the WWE. See, he was part of the $1 million Tough Enough series on MTV in 2004, the same one that put The Miz, Spirit Squad member Mitch, and Ryback on TV for the first time. Oh, and was won by Daniel Puder, who didn't last long, so I hope he was frugal with that million he won. Anyway, Martin tried out and made the finals, but then he confessed that he was 40 years of age at the time, not 30 as he originally said. I mean, the dude was ripped like a 30-year-old would be with his regimen. But since the rules for Tough Enough say that only those 35 and under could compete, he was immediately cut and replaced. And yet, something about the guy impressed the higher-ups, and they decided to send him to their developmental territory at the time, Ohio Valley Wrestling. There, in his first match, after about 5 or 6 months of training, he squashed 3 OVW wrestlers and proclaimed himself as the Boogeyman, and the name stuck. It was only a few months afterwards when the Boogeyman arrived in the WWE. He was supposed to go on Raw, and vignettes of him were actually seen there. But a few weeks later, those vignettes moved to SmackDown. 2 hyperextended knees delayed his debut, but it did come in mid-October of 2005. He provided jump scares for several heels on SmackDown before finally making an active wrestling debut in December. As recent videos on social media have shown, the Boogeyman had a sickening angle, honestly. He would squash jobbers and then pull out a handful of mostly live worms and force them into the mouth of the unconscious jobber. He would even eat the worms himself on occasion, though it looked like all his front teeth were missing. He was a freak in nature, all sorts of face paint, black contact lenses, smashing oversized alarm clocks across his skull, sometimes repeatedly, and blading himself. And those damn worms! But the crowd loved it. It was just the thing to keep the Attitude Era alive for a while longer. He feuded with several superstars over his tenure. First was with JBL and his fixer, Jillian Hall. All you need to know about that is that Jillian had a growth on her face which Boogeyman peeled off and ate. It was hard to keep my lunch down when I saw that, no lie. He then took on Booker T and his wife Sharmell, which lasted to WrestleMania 22 when he beat the two in a handicap match, and celebrated by kissing Booker's wife with a mouthful of worms. He had torn his bicep before WrestleMania, so had to recuperate. So Cody Rhodes wasn't the first to do that, it seems. When he came back, he went after The Miz and then Fit Finlay. This led to the arrival of Little Boogeyman as a counter to Hornswoggle. But after Mark Henry crushed him in 2007, he was drafted to the new ECW brand, where he didn't really start a feud. I mean, not that he needed to. The whole cluster truck of a brand was pretty much everyone feuding against everyone else. Matt Striker, John Morrison, Big Daddy V, Phillip Brooks, still refuse to call him by that name. He got around, even with a torn calf muscle keeping him out. But he was released in March of 2009 after being beaten by Kane. Now he's a sort of legend in the WWE annals. He makes appearances now and then, usually for a jump scare. In fact, most recently he was responsible for two people, Pat Patterson and R-Truth, to win the 24/7 championship. He didn't win any titles himself, though he was in line for the ECW title while he was there, but he did win a title in the Alabama Wrestling Federation. He won the tag team titles with Bobby Lashley, believe it or not. If he's not on Raw tomorrow, I would consider it a great injustice. I'm sure he's doing well in Denver as an aerobic instructor and running his own training facility in Boulder, but if there ever was a face that personified Halloween in the WWE, it's this face! Ah! I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling vlog who always tells it like it is. Stay safe, pray for peace, and I'll see ya.